me tell you something right now. You will never have authority over your emotions if you don't first have awareness of them. Some of us are losing battles, not because we're weak, not because we're cursed, not even because we're broken, because blind to what's going on in our minds, blind to what's stirring in our hearts, blind to the triggers that push us over the edge. You cannot change what you won't acknowledge. You cannot heal what you're still hiding. You cannot conquer what you won't confront. Some people go through life on autopilot, reacting to everything, exploding here, shutting down there, pulling away from relationships, self-sabotaging opportunities, and they call it just the way I am. No, that's not who you are. That's who your unchecked mind and unmanaged emotions have trained you to become. But who you are is deeper than your reactions. Who you are is greater than your triggers. Who you are is the you that shows up after awareness walks into the room. See, awareness is like turning the lights on in a dark house. It doesn't fix the mess, but at least now you can see it. You can't sweep a floor you won't look at. You can't fix a crack in the wall if you keep pretending it's not there. And some of us are living in spiritual and emotional darkness, not because the enemy has power over us, but because we've never flipped the switch of self-awareness. I'm talking about knowing what sets you off, knowing when you're not okay, knowing when a conversation or a tone or a memory sends you into that spiral, not so you can stay there, but so you can stop there. Because when you know what moves you emotionally, you can start learning how to master it mentally. And the devil, listen, he's not that creative. He's consistent. He keeps hitting the same buttons, and you keep reacting the same way over and over again. And the cycle continues until you wake up and say, hold up, I've been here before. I've felt this before. I've cried these tears before. I've said I changed before. Now I see it. Now I know it. And this time, I'm not going to just feel it. I'm going to face it. When you train your mind to observe rather than absorb, when you train your spirit to ask, why am I feeling this way? Instead of just acting out of it, you create space between the emotion and the action. And that space is where your power lives. That space is where your victory starts. That space is where you say, wait a minute, I don't have to yell. I don't have to shut down. I don't have to overthink. I don't have to isolate myself. I can do something different this time, but I've got to be willing to go there. You've got to be willing to stop running from the mirror of your mind. You've got to be willing to say, God, show me what's broken. Show me what I'm avoiding. Show me the roots beneath the fruit. Some of the emotions we keep reacting out of, those aren't even current. They're coming from 10 years ago. From childhood, the betrayal, from words spoken over us that we never challenged. And now every new relationship, every job opportunity, every challenge becomes another stage where that old wound starts performing again. And you keep thinking it's them. But the truth is, it's something LMU that you haven't fully faced. You can't be free from something you're still blaming everybody else for. I know they hurt you. I know they left. I know they lied. I know you didn't deserve it. But now it's your responsibility to heal. Now it's your job to grow. Now it's your time to take authority over your own soul. That doesn't mean you won't feel things. It means you stop being a slave to what you feel. God didn't create you to be a prisoner of your emotions. He gave you a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That means your mind can be trained. It means your emotions don't have to run your life. It means awareness is not weakness. It's a wisdom. It's strength. It's spiritual maturity. And some of the battles you're praying to be delivered from, God is saying, I'll deliver you when you're ready to see the truth. Because deliverance without awareness is only temporary, but when you get awareness, you get authority, you get strategy, you get vision. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intention, with grace, and with wisdom. And once you get there, once you start living in that kind of awareness, your emotions don't scare you anymore. Your mind doesn't bully you anymore. You're not tossed around by every feeling, every comment, every storm. You become anchored, centered, aware. And from that place, now you can begin to train your mind to master what once mastered you. Because until you become aware, you will always be a slave to what you're unwilling to face. Let me tell you something that might shake you a little bit. Your emotions are not coming out of nowhere. They are not random. They are being fed by your thoughts. What you think is what you feel. And what you feel is what you act on. Some of us are trying to change the fruit without ever getting down to the root. You keep saying, I want to stop feeling anxious. I want to stop feeling angry. I want to stop feeling depressed. But you keep thinking the same thoughts that produce those feelings. You can't think defeat and feel victorious. You can't think fear and feel peace. You can't think bitter and feel joy. The Bible says, you as a man thinketh in his heart, so is high. That means your thoughts are not just passing ideas. They are shaping your reality. They are molding your emotions. They are setting the tone for your responses. If you want to train your mind to master your emotions, you have to first train your thoughts to honor your purpose. You've got to change the way you think about yourself. Change the way you think about others. Change the way you think about your pain, your future, your God. Because you will never rise above the level of your thinking. Some of us are trying to live a healed life with a broken mindset, trying to walk in faith with a fearful mind, trying to have peace with chaos constantly running through our heads. Let me tell you, that's spiritual, warfare. That's the battleground. The enemy isn't always after your stuff. He's after your mind, because if he can get your mind, he can control your emotions. If he can control your emotions, he can lead your decisions. And if he can lead your decisions, he can ruin your destiny. So this is more than positive thinking. This is warfare. This is spiritual discipline. This is mental training. You've got to start talking back to those thoughts that don't serve your destiny. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves to stay. Stop letting your mind be a hotel for every toxic idea that knocks on the door. You've got to get bold enough to evict it. You've got to say, No, I'm not going to rehearse that offense again. I'm not going to meditate on what they said. I'm not going to keep replaying my failures. I'm not going to keep predicting disaster. I will think thoughts that align with peace, with growth, with truth, with power, with purpose. Because when your thoughts shift, your emotions will follow. When you start thinking that you are loved, you'll stop begging people for validation. When you start thinking that you are enough, you'll stop overcompensating with performance. When you start thinking that your life still has purpose, even after the pain, your joy will return, your energy will return, your power will return. But it starts in the mind. You can't master your emotions with the same thinking that created the emotional chaos in the first place. And here's the truth. Nobody is coming to think for you. You've got to take responsibility for what's living in your head. What are you feeding your mind? What are you listening to? Who's speaking into your life? What are you scrolling past every day? What are you meditating on when nobody else is around? Because your mind doesn't just reflect your emotions. It produces them. You want peace. You've got to train your mind to think peace. You want power. You've got to train your mind to think with power. You want clarity. Then you've got to stop flooding your mind with confusion. Let me say this. You won't feel better until you ain't think better. You won't respond better until you believe better. And sometimes you've got to preach to your own mind. I don't care how saved you are, how long you've been walking with God. There will be days when your emotions are loud and your faith feels weak. That's when you speak the truth louder than the lies. That's when you say, no, I will not be overwhelmed today. I have peace. I have strength. I have authority. I have purpose. I am my feelings. I am not my fears. I am not my failures. I am who God says I am. And hear me, you're not going to get it right every day. This is not about perfection. This is about progress. This is about getting up every day with a decision. Today, I will train my mind. I will not my emotions drive this ship. I will think higher. I will think stronger. I will think with purpose. I will take every thought captive and make it submit to the truth. Because when your mind is trained, your emotions will bow to your truth, not the other way around. You've been led by your feelings long enough. It's time to let your mind lead your emotions into victory. Let me tell you something that might just set somebody free tonight. You've got to stop renting out space in your mind to voices that don't belong there. Too many of us are giving our peace away to people who didn't pay a price for. We are walking around emotionally drained, mentally distracted, spiritually heavy, not because of what's happening around us, but because of what we keep entertaining within us. You're trying to move forward, but every time you get a little momentum, that old voice creeps up again. That voice from the past, voice of failure, that voice of rejection, that voice of guilt. And before you know it, your whole mindset shifts and your emotions follow. But let me tell you, your mind is not a dumping ground. It is sacred space. It is territory that needs to be protected, guarded, and renewed daily. And you can't protect your mind if you're constantly replaying every lie the enemy ever told you. If you keep letting every critic, every insecure comment, every painful memory live in your head rent-free, you will never walk in the emotional freedom that belongs to you. Some of you are not tired from what you're doing. You're tired from what you're thinking. You're emotionally exhausted from carrying conversations that ended years ago, are still trying to prove yourself to people who aren't even watching, still replaying words that were spoken by people who didn't even love themselves when they said it. And here's the truth. Some of us are more loyal to the pain of our past than we are to the promise of our future. We hold on to what they said. We hold on to how they left. We hold on to what they didn't do. And we make those voices louder than God's, louder than grace, louder than truth. But if you're going to train your mind to master your emotions, you've got to start evicting some of these voices. You've got to stop allowing negativity to narrate your life. You've got to take back your mental real estate and say, no more. I'm not giving space to shame. I'm not giving space to fear. I'm not giving space to bitterness. I'm not giving space to their opinion. They don't get to live here anymore. Sometimes the loudest battles are not with people. They're with memories, and if you don't confront those memories with truth, they will become strongholds, and strongholds aren't broken by wishing them away. You've got to replace the lie with the truth. You've got to counteract the voice that said, you'll never make wit. I can do all things through Christ. You've got to silence the voice that said, you're too broken. By his stripes, I am healed. You've got to drown out the voice that said, you're not enough with, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. If you don't replace the voice, it will keep replacing your joy. This is why some of you feel like no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you worship, you still feel stuck. Because while your hands are lifted, your mind is still cluttered. Your heart wants freedom, but your thoughts are still in bondage. You've made peace with the presence of voices that were never meant to stay, and now your emotional reactions are not even rooted in your present situation. They're rooted in the residue of past rejection. The wound is gone, but the whisper remains. You've got to ask yourself, who am I still listening to? Who am I still trying to please? Who am I still arguing with in my head? Who am I still proving myself to years after they walked away? And more importantly, why do I still give them that kind of access? Why do I still their words direct my emotions, my decisions, my self-worth? You can't control what people say, but you control what gets to stay. You've got to treat your mind like a gated community. Just because a thought knocks doesn't mean you let it in. Just because a memory surfaces doesn't mean you have to dwell in it. Someone said it doesn't mean it's true. And just because it hurt doesn't mean it has to hold you hostage. When you stop renting space to negative voices, your emotions stop reacting to fake emergencies. You stop spiraling every time something reminds you of back then. You stop overthinking every interaction You stop fearing what might go wrong. You stop letting your mind torment with what ifs and should haves and not enoughs. And you start living with peace, with clarity, with emotional maturity. You start waking up with a sense of freedom, not because everything is perfect, but because you've taken back your power. You've taken back your mind. You've taken back the keys to your emotional house. Because the truth is, you hear God clearly when the voices of the past are still echoing in your head. You can't move into your next season while dragging the baggage of the last one. You can't grow emotionally while feeding on thoughts that drain your spirit. So today is the day to shut it down. Cancel the lease, change the locks, clear the space. Because peace is not just a prayer, it's a decision. And the moment you decide that your mind belongs to truth and not torment, your emotions will follow. You don't owe any voice from your past another day of rent in your present. Let me tell you something. Your emotions were never meant to be your master. They were meant to be your servant. They were never supposed to sit in the driver's seat of your life, steering your decisions, crashing your peace, and wrecking your relationships. No, emotions are powerful, yes, but they were meant to be indicators, not dictators. You've got to stop letting how you feel determine who you are. You've got to learn how to feel deeply without living recklessly. You've got to learn how to acknowledge the storm in your soul without letting it control your direction. See, some of us have spent our whole lives being led by how we feel in the moment. 1 minute we're up, the next we're down. 1 minute we love them, the next we hate them. 1 minute we're motivated, the next we're discouraged, and then we wonder why our lives feel unstable, why our relationships feel like roller coasters, why we can't find consistent peace. It's because we've given our emotions too much authority. We've put them on the throne and expected God to bless the chaos that follows. You don't have to apologize for having emotions. God gave them to you. Jesus wept. He got angry. He got tired. He felt pain. He was overwhelmed in the garden. So no, we're not called to be emotionless. We're called to be emotionally mature. The difference is emotional immaturity lets the feeling make the decision. Emotional maturity pauses, prays, and then chooses how to respond. And that's where your power is, not in pretend you don't feel it, but in choosing how to move through it. There is a difference between feeling something and being owned by it. Some of you are so used to reacting to every emotion that you think it's normal. You think anger should always lead to action. You think fear should always stop the plan. You think anxiety means you're not ready. But that's not truth. That's training. That's what happens when you don't learn to separate what you feel from what you know. Be your emotions might tell. I can't do this. But your mind knows. I've done harder things than this before. Your emotions may scream, they're going to leave me. They're going to leave me. But your truth says, even if they do, I'll still be whole. Your emotions will rise up in a moment, but your peace has to be anchored in something deeper than a moment. You've got to train yourself to sit with your emotions without being swallowed by them. Just because it gets loud in your soul doesn't mean you have to speak on it. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean you have to react. Just because fear creeps in doesn't mean you have to bow to it. Maturity is when your emotions rise up and you tell them, you're not running anything today. You can ride, but you can't drive. You can speak, but you don't get the final word. And let's be honest, sometimes we like letting our emotions lead because it feels good. It feels satisfying in the moment. That clapback feels good. That shutdown feels justified. That emotional high gives us a sense of control, but it's short-lived. It's a counterfeit fix. It doesn't build peace. It breaks it. Doesn't deepen love. It distances it. It doesn't strengthen faith. It weakens it. And after it's all said and done, we're left with regret, left cleaning up messes that were made by feelings we let run wild. You don't have to keep living like that. You have the power right now to pause, to breathe, to choose. You don't have to be reactionary. You don't have to be emotionally volatile. You can be stable. You can be calm in the storm. You can be gentle when everything in you wants to snap. You can be kind when anger wants to lash out. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's discipline. That's authority over your soul, because the enemy loves a person who lives by their emotions. He knows all he's got to do is send the right person the wrong comment, the unexpected storm, and boom, your whole day is thrown